Y'all need to think more with your mouth closed. You the resort of a man not in the household. That's why you so violent and you seeking outfoes. Nobody.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Today we're going to be talking about the so-called, alleged, supposed, reported return of Stone Cold Steve Austin, which of course I don't see happening. All right, so what's going on? Fightful Select, which means Sean Ross Sapp, has suggested that WWE, quote, made an overture to Stone Cold Steve Austin to come out of retirement for WrestleMania 38. Here and then after that was made, everybody started grasping at straws, trying to tie any and everything together. There was all this ancillary information that all of a sudden dropped out of nowhere. Steve Austin has a ring built at his ranch. The Texas storyline for Kevin Owens leads to match with Stone Cold Steve Austin, possibly, maybe, allegedly, reportedly. All of these things started to occur, started to bubble up, as certain people started getting really excited about the concept of Steve Austin returning for one more match at WrestleMania. So, obviously I have to talk about this. I really don't want to, but because I don't really see it happening the way that a lot of people are talking about it. But let's discuss it. Steve Austin has, this is obviously not the first time it's been suggested to him that he wrestled at WrestleMania. And he said before, quote, "To get hooked on it again just for one more match, to me, it would be so anticlimactic. Go out there and do it, and then whatever the finish was, and then go home. But what does it all mean in the big picture? Stone Cold had a comeback, and then the match was 3.5 5-star rating. It ain't great enough. And if I crushed it, what would it mean? I just had to stay away, man. And I stayed away." That's what he said before about returns. Now, that doesn't mean that he is going to stay away, because things change. Finances change. The economy changes. Body might feel a little bit better. So it's entirely possible that he could actually be interested in a return. And I think in a more recent interview, Steve Austin said, "I think Vince tried talking me to coming back a couple of times. I love the business so much. I love it more than anybody else. I can only speak for myself, but I love the damn business. And it hurt me so much to leave it. And to me, going back for one more match, man, why? What am I proving? What are they going to remember? It ain't about the money. It took me a long time, damn near 3 years, to get over the fact that I left the business." This is what he said on Talk is Jericho. So I don't see Steve Austin coming back to work a match. That, I think, is just out of the question. His physical situation is, all constantly in flux. I just don't see him putting his neck on the line, especially to wrestle reportedly Kevin Owens. What? Kevin Owens. What? No. Let's fantasy book Steve Austin going to have one last match, one more run. Would Kevin Owens be the favorite opponent of anybody except somebody on the internet? Do you see like the average person saying to themselves, "I gotta go see Steve Austin wrestle Kevin Owens"? What? If you'd have said Steve Austin's going to come out of retirement to fight Brock Lesnar, holy shit. You could probably fill AT&T Stadium 3 times over with that, for sure. Because people would be like, "I don't care what day that's happening. I want to be in the building." But Kevin Owens, I don't know. I'm not buying that. And since Brock isn't a light wrestler, he's pretty rough. And his move is a German suplex, which, people don't always take correctly. I don't see Steve Austin going in there and getting a German suplex, nor do I see Brock being in a position where Steve Austin just bats him back and forth, bounces him all over the mat, and throws him over the top rope or some shit. That's not what you do with Brock. And that's certainly not what you do with Roman either. And those would be the only 2 guys I would even consider bringing Steve Austin out of retirement to wrestle. That would be it. But that doesn't mean that Steve Austin won't be at WrestleMania. because he's already been advertised. He was in the first commercial for WrestleMania and in Dallas. So are we surprised that Steve Austin will probably be there? No. Now the next thing that we're talking about, we have to continue the Kevin Owens thing, is that they talked about Kevin Owens in Texas. Steve Austin isn't the only wrestler from Texas, but let's say that's the angle we're going with here. That's Kevin Owens hates Texas, and for some odd reason. All right, what you can do is you can set up a segment similar to WrestleMania 21, where Steve Austin maybe is going to have a live Stone Broken Skull sessions with Kevin Owens as the guest, or a live KO show with Stone Cold Steve Austin as the guest. That I can see them doing that, because that's just bantering back and forth. Steve Austin can walk around, the audience can be, engaged. He can get some of the energy. It's not the same as a wrestling match, but he can get some of the energy, and he can give Kevin Owens a stunner, and that's it. That's all we really care for anyway. Do I really care to see anybody get heat on Stone Cold Steve Austin? No. That's not what I want to see. If Steve Austin's going to come out there, I want to see him kick, stunner, that's it. All right, send everybody home happy, drink your beer, crowd cheers. Maybe Kevin Owens can get his heat verbally on Texas, get his heat verbally on Steve Austin. There's history there between the two of them. So if you wanted to play that game, you can do that. There was plenty of, I think, backstage footage of Kevin Owens at his first WrestleMania when he ran into Steve Austin. You could play with that. There are certain things there that you can do, but a match between the two of them, absolutely not. Somebody have said Steve Austin should be the special guest referee. He's also shot those ideas down because he's done it before. He's done the whole sheriff referee thing. He's already done that. He probably wouldn't be interested in doing that. But he has toyed around with cutting promos on guys. So I think that would be the best way to do it, is for, you say that it's going to be a live Broken Skull sessions. Stone Cold Steve Austin and his guest is going to be Kevin Owens. And you're going to give him a block of time, maybe about 20 to 30 minutes. And they talk in the ring with Kevin Owens healing on the crowd and Austin cutting Kevin Owens down. Maybe Kevin throws the first punch and he tries to, do the stunner, and he gets stunnered in return. Everybody is happy, and we all, he drives off in his ATV, and everything's good. That's what I would do. I think that would be the best option, and you don't really need too much to do that. It's not going to hurt Steve. It's not going to hurt Kevin. So, and the crowd gets to see Steve Austin, and he was going to be there anyway. So ultimately, that might be the role that they play. And that's the smarter play to go. Why even tease a match? Don't tease a match that you can't give. And having him come out of retirement doesn't make much sense. For starters, the moment he comes out of retirement, you know what's going to happen. There's going to be more people saying, what about me? I want to wrestle the Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm going to trash talk Steve Austin until he comes back. But the biggest thing that's going to occur is that if he gets paid to do a wrestling match in Dallas, Vince's phone is going to ring the next morning, and it's going to be the Saudi Prince, and he's going to be like, I thought this Steve Austin was off the table. What is this? Can you get him to wrestle a match in Saudi Arabia? And then Vince is going to have to call Steve again and say, hey, look, we got a $50 million deal that is hanging in the balance. And they need those things to, I don't know how many more of those things they got left on the first contract, but if they want another one, they probably should deliver some of the stars that, the Saudi Prince wants. So if the Saudi Prince sees that Steve Austin is in play, then what's going to happen? He's going to call Vince and say, why isn't Steve Austin coming to Saudi Arabia? Why isn't my people getting Stone Cold Steve Austin? Why is, and you can tell him all you want. Oh, it's Texas. It's in his backyard, yada, yada, yada. But he's just going to add zeros to the paycheck until, you go and tell Vince, until Vince tells Steve, look, this whole shindig is in jeopardy. And then of course it's already started. A lot of the fans are saying WWE relies too much on its on the legends and everything, which is odd considering just last year it was WWE treats legends like shit. That was the whole storyline when Christian and Mark Henry and Big Show jumped ship. It was WWE treats legends like shit, so they're leaving to go to AEW. Then it's, oh no, Edge won the Royal Rumble. They love legends way too much. They're pushing the legends too much. Goldberg, no. They can't make up their mind. Just like WWE doesn't make any new stars, but how dare they, get rid of all the bums in NXT and try to make new stars? How dare they do that? So you don't want to create at least one of those situations. You don't want to create the Saudi prince being a little bit jealous or a little bit like, wait a minute, I'm getting screwed here. I'm paying $50 million a pop, and I'm not getting Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the one thing Brandon Thurston was correct about is that those Saudi shows does net a lot more money than WrestleMania does. That's why they do the greatest Royal Rumble, and it's going to be bigger and better than WrestleMania, because those events are more lucrative than WrestleMania because they're already sold. And they don't care how many people are in the building. They get paid just to show up. But they have used them appropriately when it comes to Peacock. And NBC is likely going to be the same way. Hey, if you guys can get Stone Cold Steve Austin for WrestleMania, and you're going to Saudi Arabia, why wouldn't you bring Stone Cold Steve Austin into Saudi Arabia? Just like, NBC was probably behind the whole WrestleMania Backlash thing. Why wouldn't they keep pushing for more Steve Austins and more Rocks? Because more people can watch the show. More ads, higher ad rates. Why wouldn't you do that? There's 100 business reasons why you would do Steve Austin at WrestleMania. There's 100 reasons why you would do that. It's good business. But what about, like Steve said, what about the next day? Once you give people Stone Cold Steve Austin in a match, how do you go forward? You certainly don't. I'm saying the match is not even going to occur, let alone whether he should even win or not. The match ain't going to happen. Okay, so I don't see that happening. Secondly, if Steve Austin goes out there and beats Kevin Owens, what does that say about Kevin Owens? Steve Austin hasn't had a match since 2003. Man, that would be. He ain't had a match in 19 years, and he just comes off his couch and beats up Kevin Owens. I mean, it's probably great for Kevin. He's a mark and everything, but I wouldn't do that to the guy. I certainly wouldn't have Kevin Owens beat Steve Austin. That would suck. That would piss everybody off. That would make people turn the event off, if we're being honest. You have Steve Austin this gigantic return and he loses? Oh, hell no. So why even go through that? Why even put yourself through it? You can keep everybody happy by having Steve Austin and Kevin Owens maybe throw punches back and forth. Maybe Kevin Owens tries to get a stunner on Steve. He kicks him in the knee or something like that, tries to get him a stunner. It gets countered. He gets stunnered, and that's it. He lays in the middle of the ring. Austin throws some stuff on top of him or something like that. Maybe throws him over the top rope. Austin goes to the corners, fists up, and that's about it. I think that's the best way to keep everybody happy. Steve Austin does a little bit of physicality where, he doesn't hurt himself. He doesn't hurt anybody else. He doesn't beat Kevin Owens in a match, but he kind of outfights him, which, makes sense. And everybody gets what they want, to a degree. And that's nothing that can't be replicated in Saudi Arabia without, Steve putting his body at risk. So do I think Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to wrestle a match? No. I think it's silly to even put that out there. But of course, Vince is going to ask, of course they're going to ask. They probably still ask Undertaker if he can work matches. The answer is no. They probably still ask Shawn Michaels if he can still work matches. They're going to bring in as many names as they can. Their business is in selling tickets. Of course they're going to ask. It's not a question of whether they're going to ask or not. It's not the NFL or the NBA or something like that where I'm pretty sure if Michael Jordan said he wanted to play basketball tomorrow, the NBA would think about it. They would consider it. So I don't think that it's too out of the ordinary for an older guy who's been out of the business for a long time, to be able to get a spot. But I think WrestleMania, because it's so much time, it's 2 nights, and you're stretching the roster quite thin. You could probably get Steve in there, and it'd be not that big of a deal, So, but I don't see it occurring the way that it's being reported. I see a confrontation in the ring, a promo segment. That's probably going to be I said 30 minutes earlier. That's probably a little too long. Probably about 15 minutes. A promo segment between the two of them, where Kevin Owens tries to get over on Steve Austin how much he hates Texas, and then turns his vitriol towards Steve, and then he gets a stunner for being a dickhead. And I think that's perfectly fine. But let me know what you guys think. Comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.